Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. You're here with Jane and Mark today. No Molly, no Roxy, and the dogs are not in here either.
They got big boots scooted and booted.
Yes, but they have a little bit more space in the living room now that we've moved some stuff, so they
Yeah, I know.
more room for activities. I think one of them just readjusted their nap spot. Speaking of,
Yeah, they're just like, and move.
all right, but today we are on June 26th, so it is 626 today.
62626.
Oh, yeah, 62626. Oh my
Mhm,
gosh, that's really cool. And
mhm,
we are in the month of heroes and quests, and we're with the Pathfinder, and our week 4 is the return. So all week we've been kind of returning returning to either a place or to a people or to a home. It's a little
mhm,
bit different because we're changed, but when we're gone, life continues. It's kind of interesting to think about because I've seen it in a movie and read it in books before. It's just like media has so many other alternative storylines when you pay attention to it. And it was talking about how all this stuff is happening within our own life. And
mhm,
it's like the greatest things, the end of the world, all these little things that happen to us. And the world is still moving forward for everyone else too
mhm,
you know? And so when we go and we may be the hero on this quest, but there's someone still, being the hero at home or being the guardian, doing all this stuff at home. And that's changing them as well.
mhm.
Because our absence also causes change,
Right.
And so that's just kind of something cool I thought of. And today we are specifically talking about the guarding and the protector role. So today is all about the protector role. June being with Father's Day, it's a heavy masculine month
Mhm,
already energy wise. First, in the summer, first in the warmer months of really stepping into your power. So now we get to step into one of the highly expected roles of the masculine, I think, and under acknowledged a lot of the time, I think. I don't mean all the time. I don't mean in relationships or whatever, but just the sense of there is a protector everywhere at your home, at your work, in your family vacation, wherever it may be, there's someone or even multiple someone's playing the protector role.
mm,
And it kind of goes without being said, but it's expected.
right.
So I kind of just wanted to ask you today, like, what does that feel like? Because obviously I'm 5'3", right? I'm not stepping into the rooms as the big dog, guarding everything. I could hold my own, but in all actuality, there are a lot of cases. Like if it was just me versus me, we know. But no, I don't have that expectation on me. And I have found throughout, just back in my party days, I had a friend that was just the natural protector. He
Mhm,
was a big guy in our group, he had a loud voice, he's very assertive, he was very caring and considerate, but it was just expected. So I kind of just wanted to hear from you. I mean, being a girl dad, I've seen how you are with your family too. And you're very protective of your family. How does it feel being in that protector role?
To me, it's honestly a natural thing because as soon as somebody disrespects or does something to anybody that I am in charge of or of protecting, right? I take it personal and there's a switch that flips really quick to where now I'm like, what are you doing? I take pride in it. I enjoy it feels good when someone can look at you and be like, no, he's got me. It doesn't matter. Like from my kids to a friend to my partner. It's one of those things where it just kind of makes you feel good when someone can look at you or look at me. Someone can look at me and be like, no, he would in that moment, no matter what. And I've lived it like not just within family, but at my job where I've been in the middle of a situation that I probably shouldn't have. And the way I stepped in between an altercation, it's just a natural reaction. Some people have it and some people don't. And those that don't, it's okay. It really is because there's something else that you're supposed to do anyways. You're not supposed to be in that role. So for myself, it's just a natural thing that I honestly enjoy. That's why I'm like, I would prefer you not to have to work and do this because I know you can be safer. And it's not just I'm protecting you from like physical things, but it's people are crude. So then there's one less thing that I would have to worry about.
I think it's one of the aspects of our relationship that are the I mean, I could say that I'm protective of you, but in all actuality, I think it's something that we're allowed to be the complete opposites on and be okay with it. Yes, I'm protective of you, but I'm the baby of the family, of a lot of girls, pretty tough family,
Hmm.
the tough on both sides. You weren't gonna really get in either wit-wise or strength-wise,
Right.
but it also allowed me to be completely carefree, the exploratory. And I mean, I've been blessed, with the family that I had and the upbringing that I had. It took me a while, to
Hmm.
recognize that, arrogant little kid, you want to trauma bond, you want to say all the terrible things. Yeah, there were some terrible things that have happened. But in all actuality, most of those were self inflicted. None of that was induced by family or anything,
Right.
like really lucky with the family I got. But something that I didn't realize is that some people don't even see animals that I saw every day.
Right.
That I don't want to get up in the middle of winter to go take care of an animal. It's freezing. But that mentality of you don't eat until your animals eat,
Right.
getting to see all of that stuff and getting to explore. And yeah, there were dangers. I mean, we had that sheep that tried to kill me. I mean, there are horses. There's lots of dangers with big animals, and you might think a ram has a lot of dangers to
If
it.
they hit you in the right spot at the right time, they
It
could
was my
cause.
ribs, against the ball. It was
Yeah.
pretty, whatever, but I'm fine.
Right.
I'm saying that I've always been protected. I'm not saying that I've always been in relationships where I've been protected,
Hmm.
but I've had my dad and then now I've had you. Obviously, there were times I felt safe with other partners, but not in the same way. And it's exciting because I used to always just be able to be. There was someone protecting me. So I didn't have to worry about that. That aspect, I
A
was
lot of people
fully
don't have
engaged.
that.
Yeah. And I was fully engaged in whatever I wanted to do because I was allowed to be.
Right.
I struggled and I'm still like, you get to see a little bit of that struggle when you're not around. Like, I don't want to be anywhere else.
Right.
And I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. Like I said, I'm kind of getting out there again and talking to people, but that's because I feel safe even when you're not around because of you. So that's an
Mm.
aspect too, is guarding. When you're really good at guarding and you're really trusted, I don't think you need to physically be around because I know if I needed you to physically be here,
Well, it'd be real quick.
and like the other one's what, a minute away?
Right.
And so it's like those are in place and it's tough because yeah, it's exciting. It's awesome to have a protector. And I would imagine being the protector, I mean, just having students like third graders and being the
Hmm.
protector, I felt good, knowing that they were safe, they were happy, they, having a good time. But the worst part about being the protector is the day you have to protect. So that's something that I don't think it's almost like we don't talk about it because we love ourselves, the protectors, the people in uniform, whatever that uniform may be. It could literally be a dad, sure, right? Could
Right.
be in the shape of a dad bod, a mom bod, could be a police officer, it could be a CO, it could be so many different things.
Mm.
But the second that they do what we applaud them for standing in that role to do, it seems like things shift a little. So we're not going to get into that political aspect. But the reason I bring it up is because so often I think the hardest thing that we want to address is the thing that was being protected, regardless of what that is, right? And usually we're going to just life. Okay. I'm not talking about like
Right.
possessions. I'm talking about, your family. And that includes animals and stuff. You can't really, I don't believe, put any limitation on protection, honestly, in a lot of different ways and formats for that. And that's something that I think we need to step back and look at is the thing that's worth protecting. If someone is doing their job to protect it, what do you like, that's kind of something that I still think that is a struggle for a lot of us because a lot of us would say, if it's me, I'm going to be able to justify my protecting you, right?
Hmm.
Because if anyone did anything, it's their own fault. But we're so quick to cast stones at our neighbor who's doing the same thing,
Right.
right? And I say life because it's not just like siblings or kids or parents. It's like animals too. And I've been noticing a lot of people like online are like coming in and taking or messing with people's animals, laying out poison outside their properties.
Wow.
So if because their dog is like scratching up the fence outside, like, and then they get upset when their animal's dead.
Right. Well, you got to take care of yours, make sure it doesn't get out.
Right.
You know?
And there's so much, like, that's what I'm saying. So I think today, instead of worrying about the cost of guarding, we really think about the value of what's being guarded.
I like that. And
So,
the biggest thing is like somebody that is guarding somebody or that protector. Honestly, at the end of the day, for myself, I don't ever want to have to. Like, honestly, because you know who I am and you know my beliefs and mine, I steer more towards the turn the other cheek type of person. That's how I am. That's how I always have been.
mm,
I'm really good at talking to people and figuring out, why are you upset? And let's make sure we don't need to step forward. Now, have
mhm.
there been times where I've had to? Yes, 100%. Because sometimes, unfortunately, in the reality that we've been living in, you can't go there. I think with myself with it, the biggest thing is I don't want to because I think there's a better way. I think there's things as humans that we should be living in a better way that we should never even have to worry about protecting. But no matter what, that's one of those things where when and if it ever did come up, I would be.
And I think you made a very clear distinction there of you would protect and go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. You would absolutely protect in the case of safety, but protecting and guarding is very different with that and pride. Protecting and guarding someone's pride, I think, is where fights happen a lot more.
Right.
Where the other one that isn't a fight. That's
Mhm.
just protection.
Right.
So I think you actually made a very like good, clear distinction there was I can turn my cheek when it's about pride, but there are other times where I don't want to, but I will.
Right.
Uh, and that's just that's a big distinction too. But I also don't think that when I say think about the worth of something you're guarding, I'm saying the worth to the individual that's guarding it because absolutely no one else's business or opinion on that matters. And
Correct.
I'm just going to be very frank about it. Like, I don't give a shit about me having to justify what I care about
Right.
to prove to you that it matters. Like, I don't think anyone should. I don't think, like, and I've been cutting people off that do that because I do want to hear their story. And I do, I can see it. And when I know that you care about that, I will cut them off
Hmm.
when they're trying to justify it. You care, and that's enough. Like, I've heard you talk how much you're passionate about this or this or this. You don't have to defend guarding something that you clearly care about
Hmm.
because it's worth this much because you care about it is enough.
Right.
And I just wanted to kind of say that. Yeah, excuse my language, but I don't think it matters.
It doesn't. I saw a cool thing and I don't remember exactly how it went. And it was super cool. So this guy is doing interviews on the street. And he goes up to this guy and he said something about how much, money would XYZ, whatever. And it had to do with this guy's life. And he's like, if I give you, let's say it's $2 million or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I'll take that. And he's like, okay, but then you die the next day after. And the dude is like, oh, no, I don't want that money then. And he's like, so your life is worth more than that. So that was one thing that, like, the whole time you were talking, like, that kept popping up into my head. Like, think about it, maybe possibly that way, like, as the either protector or protectee, right? Would I be willing to do this? Okay, now what if it was only one day that I had to do this? It's going to shift your perspective, I think, a little bit.
Our topic of the guarding and the protector role in our lesson is that the hero becomes the watchman. So this is also a time when the hero stops and they just do the tedious work of being there consistently. So we're going to see that with Roman, Norse, Aztec, and Maori tradition today. Yeah, these stories kind of that one hit me pretty hard,
Yeah.
honestly. I was fighting the last couple paragraphs to not cry. I don't know what it was, but I could see it. Like, I could
Wow.
feel him. And I
Mhm.
was like, because it
Have
makes
fun with that one,
sense.
guys.
He would have seen us. So,
Yeah.
which means he would have watched that.
Right.
It's just cool. But today, as you think about like the value of the things that we guard as well, it's what must I guard? Because there are some things that just need protection. It's not a want, it's not a helplessness thing. What is it that I must guard? Right? My peace,
Hmm.
my partner, my pets, all these different things. And then we're going to stand alert and still for 1 full minute, observing without distraction. So we're going to go out and we're going to really just pay attention. It's all about attentiveness. So we're just going to do that today and without distraction. So what that means is not like, oh, I got to block everything out. You're just observing everything without like technology, without talking. You're just really in your landscape, right?
Nice.
Outside, not like standing alert watching TV or something. Even though there are some of those cool like visual things that I really like. Anyways, we're going to accept the responsibility of watchfulness as the final form of strength. So it's kind of like the people that show up are the ones that are really in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of where we're at today. The hero that just shows up. Sometimes that's the strength that we can offer.
Right.
So we're
Just being
gonna,
there, being present.
yeah. So we're gonna do that today, and we will see you guys tomorrow. If you guys can tomorrow, listen to tomorrow's stories at nighttime because it's a night theme. Under stars if you can, under moon. If not, turn on some visuals of it. But you will want some sort of night ambiance for tomorrow's theme.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the first ones that I kind of sat back and went, I just would really like to potentially look at the sky when I'm hearing these.
Yeah.
So I might play them back underneath.
That's funny because just was it today? I said that now that it's getting nice out, I want to go out on a nice night and stare up at the stars. Like just said that. So
yeah. And so there's some good ones. I don't believe, we don't have any repeats on this one tomorrow. These are all brand new stories from 4 very distinct, different groups. So it's just going to be really nice to sit under the same sky that everyone looked at.
Right.
You know,
I
hearing the
think
stories.
I should join the party tomorrow then, it sounds like, and listen to these stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe
sure.
I'll record the stories and then we can try to see if we can record outside or something along those lines.
That could be fun. Think about
Even just put that kind of background on the TV or something.
it.
Anyways, that's all we have for you guys today, and hope you enjoy these 4 stories.
See you guys. Love you.
Why do you always say you love them?
Because I do.
You only tell me that like 3 times a day.
More than that. More than that.
Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1, Janus, Guardian of the Gates. In the earliest days of Rome, before marble temples crowned the hills, and before the empire stretched across distant lands, the people honored a unique god unlike any other. His name was Janus, and he was the keeper of doorways, gates, thresholds, beginnings, and endings. While other gods ruled the sea, the sky, or the harvest, Janus watched over the moments of transition that connected one state of being to another. The old stories told that Janus possessed 2 faces. One looked forward while the other looked behind. Because of this gift, he could see both what had been and what was yet to come. He stood at every threshold, understanding that every ending opened the way for a beginning, and every beginning carried the memory of what came before. Among the hills of ancient Latium, where shepherds grazed their flocks and villages rested beside winding rivers, Janus ruled wisely. Travelers passing through the land often sought his blessing before beginning a journey. Farmers invoked his name before planting their fields. Families offered prayers at the entrances of their homes, believing that the god watched over all who crossed their thresholds. One tale tells of a time when enemies advanced towards Rome during an age of uncertainty and conflict. Warriors gathered to defend the city, but fear spread among the people as reports of the approaching army arrived. The gate stood as the final barrier between the city and danger. As the invaders neared, prayers rose to Janus. The people asked the guardian of gateways to protect the city during its hour of need. According to the story, the god answered in a remarkable way. Near one of the gates, a sacred spring burst forth with scalding water. Steam filled the air and boiling torrents rushed toward the advancing enemy. Unable to continue their attack, the invaders retreated from the city. The Romans never forgot the event. They believed Janus had stood watch over the gateways and protected the people entrusted to his care. In gratitude, his importance grew throughout the city. A temple dedicated to Janus eventually became one of Rome's most symbolic places. Its doors remained open during times of war so that the god's protection could accompany Roman armies wherever they traveled. Only during times of complete peace were the doors closed. Such occasions were rare, and whenever the gates were shut, it was celebrated as a sign that order and security had returned. Through the centuries, Janus remained the divine guardian of every passage. Whether physical or symbolic, he watched over roads, city gates, homes, and new ventures. More importantly, he reminded people that every threshold deserves attention. To cross from one stage of life into another requires awareness, wisdom, and responsibility. Thus, Janus becomes more than a protector of doors. He becomes a watchman of transitions themselves, standing forever between what was and what will be. Story 2. Heimdall, Watchman of the Gods. Far above the world of mortals stood Asgard, the threshold of the Norse gods. Its halls gleamed beneath the heavens, and between Asgard and Midgard stretched the radiant bridge known as Bifröst. The bridge shimmered with brilliant colors and served as a pathway connecting the realm of the gods with the lands below. At the place where Bifröst reached the edge of Asgard stood Heimdall, the dwelling of Heimdall, whose duty was to guard the bridge and watch over the 9 realms. The old stories describe Heimdall as one of the most vigilant beings in existence. His sight was so sharp that he could see vast distances across the world, and his hearing was said to be even more remarkable. The poets told that he could hear grass growing in the fields and wool forming upon the backs of sheep. While other gods traveled, hunted, feasted, or fought, Heimdall remained at his post. Day after day and night after night he watched the horizon, listening to every sound that moved across the worlds. Nothing escaped his notice, for the safety of Asgard rested partially upon his unwavering attention. Beside Heimdall rested the mighty Gjallarhorn. The horn was not sounded for ordinary events, nor was it used to celebrate victories or summon gatherings. Its purpose was far greater. The gods knew that if Heimdall ever raised the horn to his lips, the moment would mark a turning point for all creation. Because of this, the watchman guarded it as carefully as he guarded the bridge itself, remaining ready for whatever fate might bring. As the ages passed, strange signs began to appear throughout the cosmos. Ancient enemies gathered strength, giants stirred in distant lands, creatures spoken of only in prophecy began moving toward the destinies foretold for them long before. The old predictions of Ragnarok, the final conflict that would shake heaven, earth, and the underworld, slowly moved closer to fulfillment. Yet even as uncertainty spread through the realms, Heimdall remained steadfast. He neither abandoned his post nor allowed fear to cloud his judgment. He continued watching, listening, and preparing for the day he knew must eventually come. At last, that day arrived. The forces of chaos advanced, and the balance that had held the worlds together began to break apart. From his high station above Bifröst, Heimdall saw the danger approaching before others fully understood its magnitude. Without hesitation, he seized Gjallarhorn and sounded a blast so powerful that its echo rolled across all the 9 realms. The call awakened gods, heroes, and warriors alike. Throughout heaven and earth, those who heard the horn understood that the hour foretold by prophecy had come. The stories remember Heimdall not merely because he fought bravely during Ragnarok, but because he fulfilled his duty long before the battle began. His strength was not found only in courage or power. It was found in patience, vigilance, and devotion to a responsibility that could never be set aside. For countless years he stood watch while others lived their lives, and because he remained faithful to that task, no one was left unaware when the final hour arrived. Thus, Heimdall became the great watchman of Norse tradition, remembered as the guardian who protected what had been entrusted to his care until the very end. Story 3. The Servants of Toltec. In the days when the Mexica people built their cities beside shining lakes and raised great temples toward the sky, life depended on the coming of the rains. Fields of maize stretched across the land, and every farmer watched the heavens with hope and concern. A season of good rain brought abundance, while a season of drought could threaten entire communities. Because of this, the people honored Tlaloc, lord of rain, storms, rivers, and mountain springs. The old stories told that Tlaloc dwelled within a magnificent mountain realm known as Tlalocan. There, hidden from the eyes of mortals, were endless gardens nourished by pure waters. Streams flowed through flowering valleys, and clouds gathered beneath Tlaloc's command. Within this paradise lived his attendants, supernatural servants whose task was to guard the sacred waters of the world. These attendants carried jars filled with different kinds of rain. Some jars held gentle showers that nourished crops and filled rivers. Others contained powerful storms that could shake the earth with thunder and lightning. The servants watched over these gifts carefully, waiting for Tlaloc's command before releasing them upon the world below. One year, the people of a valley suffered through a season of unusual dryness. Day after day, the sun crossed the cloudless sky. The soil hardened, streams grew thin, and the young maize struggled to survive. Families climbed the hills to look toward the horizon, searching for signs of approaching rain, but none appeared. Concern spread throughout the villages as the weeks passed. According to the old tale, Tlaloc observed the valley from his mountain realm and saw the hardship unfolding below. Calling his attendants together, he instructed them to prepare the life-giving waters. The servants moved through the halls of Tlalocan, selecting the vessels that contained gentle rain rather than destructive storms. Their task was not merely to release water, but to ensure that it arrived in a proper measure and at the proper time. The attendants climbed the heights of the sacred mountain and opened the jars. Clouds began gathering across the sky. At first, they appeared as distant shadows drifting over the peaks. Soon, they thickened into great formations that stretched across the heavens. Thunder rolled softly among them, not as a warning of destruction, but as a promise that relief was near. As evening approached, the first drops began to fall upon the thirsty earth. Dust settled, dry riverbeds stirred once more with flowing water. The fields absorbed the rain, and the maize lifted its leaves toward the sky. Through the night, the showers continued, bringing renewal to the valley and restoring hope to the people. From that time forward, many remembered that rain was not viewed merely as weather, but as a sacred trust guarded by powerful beings. The servants of Tlaloc stood watch over the waters of the world, protecting the balance between abundance and destruction. Their vigilance ensured that the gifts of life would continue to flow from the mountains to the people who depended upon them. Story 4. The Guardian, taniwha. Long ago, when the rivers of Aotearoa wound through forests untouched by roads and villages rested close to the waters that sustained them, stories were told of powerful beings known as the taniwha. These creatures lived within deep rivers, hidden caves, lakes, and coastal waters. Some were feared for their strength, while others were remembered as guardians who protected the people and the places entrusted to their care. One such tale speaks of a taniwha who dwelled within a broader river that flowed between wooded hills. The river served as the lifeblood of nearby communities. Canoes traveled its waters, families gathered food along its banks, and travelers relied upon its course to guide them through the land. Because the river was so important, the people treated it with respect and remembered the stories of the guardian who watched over it. The taniwha rarely revealed itself. Most who lived near the river never saw more than unusual ripples moving across calm water or shadows gliding beneath the surface. Yet the elders taught that the guardian remained present, observing all who entered its domain. Those who approached the river with care often passed safely. Those who behaved recklessly were reminded that powerful forces dwelled beneath the water. One season, a group of travelers prepared to journey downstream toward another settlement. The weather seemed calm, and the river appeared peaceful beneath the morning sun. As they loaded their canoe, an elder noticed signs that troubled him. Birds that usually gathered along the shoreline had vanished, and the current moved with an unusual restlessness despite the calm sky above. Remembering the teachings of his ancestors, the elder urged the travelers to delay their departure. Some questioned the decision, seeing no obvious danger. Nevertheless, they respected his wisdom and remained ashore. Throughout the day, the river continued to shift in strange ways. Then, as evening approached, heavy rains fell in distant mountains beyond sight of the village. By nightfall, a powerful flood surged downstream. Waters that had seemed gentle only hours earlier became violent and dangerous. Trees were swept away and the river overflowed its banks. Had the travelers departed that morning, they would have been caught in the flood far from safety. The people believed that the taniwha had provided warning through the signs observed by the elder, the guardian who had not spoken in words, yet its presence had guided those willing to pay attention. In the years that followed, the story was told whenever young people learned about the river and the responsibilities that came with using its waters. Thus, the taniwha became more than a creature of legend. It represented the watchful relationship between people and place. The guardian reminded communities that protection often requires awareness, respect, and the willingness to recognize danger before it arrives. By honoring the river and listening to the wisdom carried through generations, the people remained under the care of the unseen watchman who dwelled beneath the waters. Daily Thread for June 26th, The Guarding. There comes a point in many stories when the hero stops seeking and begins protecting. The warrior who once searched for strength becomes responsible for using it wisely. The traveler who once needed guidance becomes the one who watches the road for others. Ancient traditions often understood that maturity is marked not only by what a person gains, but by what they choose to safeguard. Guardians stand at gates, bridges, rivers, borders, homes, and sacred places because some things possess value that deserve protection. Yet the role of the watchman is rarely glamorous. It requires patience more often than action, awareness more often than recognition, and responsibility more often than reward. Janus watched over thresholds between what was ending and what was beginning. Heimdall stood vigilant at Bifröst while others lived their lives below. The servants of Tlaloc guarded the waters upon which entire communities depended, while the taniwha watched over rivers and travelers through signs often noticed only by the attentive. Across cultures, the protector learns that true guardianship is not control, it is stewardship. To guard something well is to recognize its worth, remain attentive to its needs, and act when necessary without seeking praise. Every person eventually becomes responsible for something beyond themselves, whether it is a family, a friendship, a tradition, a community, a promise, a belief, or a dream entrusted to their care. The old stories suggest that what we protect ultimately shapes who we become. Our attention follows our responsibilities, and our character is revealed by what we choose to defend when no one is watching. The question is not whether we stand watch over something. The question is whether we have recognized what has been placed in our care.